So what do you get when you have a new moon that is in the sign ruled by the bull, Taurus, that is playing referee between the very deeply transformative planet of Pluto with another fixed sign of the very fiery, and in this case, pressurizing planet of Mars? These three things together equal a raging bull. You have fiery Mars that is resisting the transformation from Pluto because they're in opposition to each other. Pluto is telling Mars in the sign of Leo, which it rules our identity and our persona, that it's time to change. It's asking us to call into question who and what we think we are, and that both of these energies are then squaring off Taurus, our moon that's in Taurus, which is asking us to get real with how we really feel about our wealth generation, what we do to create a livelihood. It's going to be calling into question our relationships and our jobs. Those are the main areas that this new moon is going to be affecting. But it doesn't have to all be like a bull in the china closet kind of intensity, because we have this Piscean energy that's coming in. And this Piscean energy is a trine between Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. The Saturn is at 27 degrees, the North Node is at 25 degrees, as well as Venus that's at 28 degrees in Pisces. These three are all in a conjunction and they are in a trine. So we have this Piscean energy, this watery energy that is cooling the hot temper that could really arise out of the friction of these three fixed signs that are squaring off with one another. Now, even though Taurus is an earth sign, I look at this square as being actually very fiery. And that's because whenever you put fire under pressure, it grows. And because Taurus, its shadow side, is being stubborn, and the ego doesn't usually like to change very easily. That's just human nature. And both of these are being squaring off with Pluto that's asking them to transform. It just makes sense that that bullish, like digging your heels in and saying no or not now, might come to play. But like I said, we have a choice here. We can either channel this fiery pressurized energy into an explosive chaos by digging our heels in and resisting the flow of nature, or we can take in the Piscean energy and this watery energy that comes in. The analogy that is being brought to my mind is that of a steam engine. This Piscean energy has the ability to direct this intensity in a very productive way. In part because we have Venus that is part of this trine, and Venus rules Taurus. So even though Taurus is feeling almost like, if you're talking about like a bull, the bull might feel almost somewhat cornered. Because it doesn't really want to make these changes. Venus, which is the patron planet of Taurus, is coming in and soothing the intensity, soothing the frustration. And because she is in conjunction with Saturn, which is karma, and the North Node, which is fate, there is a sense that whatever sacrifice that is being asked of us, whatever it is that we're being asked to let go of, that it is truly going to be for our greater good and will allow us to eventually get to accomplish our purpose, our goals, our aspirations, whatever it lies ahead of us, because that's the North Node. And Saturn is about sacrifice. It's about getting real. It's about karma. So all of these energies together, with Venus being the patron planet of Taurus and ruling over relationships and wealth, comes in with this, it will feel like a heavy energy, but it's smooth. So it isn't like coming in with like a club. It's coming in with a velvet hand saying, you know, this may not feel good at first, but it's all ultimately for our best and highest good. it's tough love. That's really what the combination of this trine and this very intense square is really bringing to us, is a type of tough love that will align us with our authenticity if we're courageous enough to look into the eye with what it is and be real with what it is that's truly working, what it is that's not, and finally commit to the decisions that will ultimately align us with the kind of life and the kind of person that we want to be. When we talk about egoic sacrifice, what some of this might look like is like calling into question, who am I without this title? Who am I without this job or this relationship or this partner? Who am I if I were to drop this group of friends or this community that I'm part of? Like, if we've outgrown some aspect of our life, this new moon is going to be asking us to really make the decisions that are necessary to plant that new seed, because new moons are typically about planting new beginnings. This new moon is going to strip away any avoidance or even coping mechanisms around shame or overwhelm, like hiding from a problem, trying to deny that it's there. Anything like that is just not going to work anymore. If that has been how one has coped with a particular situation at this time, at this point in juncture, all of that is going to stop. We are going to have to face and have to make some really big decisions. And chances are these decisions aren't going to be things that are going to come out of the blue. Chances are these are going to be things that we've known have been brewing in the background, that we've been aware of, but we just either didn't know how to navigate them or we didn't really want to deal with them. This new moon is asking us to let go of any egoic traps. So if there's anything around the fear of being judged, what will people think of you, the fear of being wrong, this new moon isn't really holding space for any of that. It's getting really real with not what will people think, but with things being as they are. The question truly is with this new moon is, what is it that you need to know or do to make the most healthy decision for yourself? Not what is necessarily easy, not what is condoned or going to be approved of, but what is going to truly be healthy for you as an individual. And because Pisces is such a deeply spiritual sign, it's probably one of the most, it is one of the most spiritual signs of the zodiac. The changes that we're being called to make, and I'm going to say especially those that are really uncomfortable. Because I was just having this conversation this morning with a friend that fear often comes up as a growing pain for letting go of an old version of ourselves. Fear doesn't only come up when there's actually danger that comes around. When the ego doesn't want to let go of something, when we have our decisions about how we define who we are, it's very difficult for the mind to let go of those egoic traps. So fear will come in as a way for the ego to essentially save its prior version. To change is in part to step into the unknown, because if you're not that, then what are you? And then you can create new definitions. You can create no definitions if you'd like. The slate is really clean with this new moon for you to decide ultimately who you want to be. And what's really beautiful is that Pisces, that, like I said, that watery energy that comes in, if we can channel our passions, the fire, the action, the charisma, and the courage from Mars, then we can superpower that the trajectory towards a life that is more in alignment with our truest, deepest desires, not the desires that are just distractions, but those that truly feed our soul, with relationships that where we feel seen, where we feel like they're on the same page with us. We can attract wealth generation that feels integritous, that doesn't feel like we're having to quote unquote sell ourselves out in any way. All of these things are available to us. But we first have to allow ourselves to let go of the old. And fear is the number one thing that will come up that will gaslight us into thinking that we're making the wrong decisions because there's resistance or because it's hard. When really, if you know deep in your gut, when we sink behind the fear, when you have been given time and time again signs or inclinations that a particular very difficult decision would ultimately be best for you, then we can take a look at that fear not as something that is our system telling us something's wrong, but simply the discomfort of growing out of our previous version. It's just like when I was a kid and I went through growing spurts, I would get terrible cramps in my legs. It was uncomfortable, but there wasn't necessarily anything that was wrong with the way that my body was responding. So just like those leg cramps that I got with growing pains, I really probably could have used bulking up on potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Give yourself what it is that you need in order to make these transitions as available as possible. So if you need time, if you need space, if you need support, reach out for what it is that you need. Ask for what you need, because that by itself may be the egoic thing that you're letting go of. Asking for help is really hard for some people. It requires them to let go of a way that they previously preferred to step out into the world. So the hard decisions, I think especially, are going to be the most powerful. So this is one of those times in which the universe is not just meeting us halfway, it's meeting us 3/4 of the way. It's just asking us to make a firm decision. And sometimes that can be the most difficult thing. It's very likely that within the week or so surrounding this new moon, that we might face a feeling of stalemate as we come to terms with the decisions that really need to be made. And then this could be like overwhelm. It could be due to avoidance, any mixture of the things. But by the 30th, when Venus re-enters Aries, there's a very good chance that within a few days of that date, April 30th, that there will be an aha moment where it's like the resistance has softened a bit, our perspective has shifted, has changed, that we're in some way, we're just more ready than we were on the 25th, for example, to make those commitments and to make those decisions and to make the necessary changes. Now, I know that this video comes at the end of a couple of weeks here in April that have been really intense for a lot of folks. So the message that the intensity is going to continue is probably not one that is very cathartic. But what I'm going to tell you is that this, I mean, really, like starting from like the eclipse onward, that it's going to be worth it, and that by the end of May, things will have congealed in a way to where it's not feeling like that things are just chaotic. And I also want you to know that you're not alone. You're not alone if things are feeling intense. Everybody's feeling that. So make sure that you get plenty of rest, that you get plenty of the supplements that you need, the vitamins that you need, the minerals that you need to support your immune system, detox in a very gentle way, and putting yourself in a place where you are as clear as possible. So with that being said, I'd like to get some more personalized information. Like, we got some pretty generalized info from looking at the stars above. The universe is fractal, and so it communicates in terms of patterns and symbols, which is one of the reasons why we use the tarot, not just the stars above, but also the tarot below, to get some additional information on how we best can use these lunar energies as they shift and move and wane. All right, so what can we do to best utilize this energy of this Taurus new moon, April 2025? And as I'm shuffling the cards, create an intention for yourself that the part of this message that really is pertinent to you and your whatever challenges or situations you're navigating, that part of the message will be crystal clear that that was meant for you to hear. You'll know. Your intuition is spot on as well. We just have to remember how to listen to it. So the Six of Swords is a gentleman that is in a boat. He's got the swords in the boat, and on one side of the boat, he is leaving choppy waters for smoother shores ahead, and the water that's up ahead is much smoother. So this is a temporary challenge that ultimately leads us to greener pastures. So this goes along perfectly with what the new moon is telling us, what all of these different squares and trines are telling us is like, it may be hard, but it's going to be worth it, essentially. The next ones are telling us, like, because I talked a lot about, like, you know, egoic transition, and I touched on the wealth piece. This is giving us a little bit more information around the how wealth and money generation, how it's going to play out with the transformations that are needing to take place. Because the Page of Pentacles is about wealth, resources, and money, and she's reversed. And she comes up reversed when we are facing self-doubt. So there has been something that has been percolating in the background for you on a different way of working, a proposal, perhaps it's a business plan, it's a promotion, something of that nature, where you haven't quite fully committed into throwing your hat into the ring. So there's a calling for a new beginning financially. And this next card shows us that what is causing the doubt, as well as like the ramifications of the doubt. So like it becomes kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So we started off in a really difficult spot, and then the difficult spot created some beliefs or some maladaptive ways of working, and then it creates more lack, which then creates a lack of self-trust or self-esteem issues or something of that nature. And so the resistance to whatever this new beginning is for you, you probably already know what's percolating in the background, is this lack. The Five of Pentacles comes up telling us that it doesn't have to be like that anymore, that there is a new beginning, and that the main obstacle right now that's standing in our place is there's our own self-doubt. Perhaps we've been disappointed before, and so fear is getting in the way, saying, you know what, this didn't work the first, the second, or even the 15th time that I tried, so you know what, I think I'm just going to throw in the towel. Or maybe this, you know, dream isn't really for me anymore. Whatever it might be, that there is this like, almost like it's disappointment, despair, despondency, and we're being asked to give it one more try. And that was a theme that came up actually with the full moon too, that this is really a time that if you felt like, you know, you're questioning whether or not you should try something again, something that your heart really wants, that this would be the time to try again. That pressure that I was talking about, it can either feel crushing, or we can pressurize it and focus it like a steam engine does and allow it to move us ahead. And this next card is very much quintessential with that Mars and Leo energy, because the Strength card, it is ruled by Leo, and it's in its reverse. So this is actually talking even more about that self-esteem and the self-doubt. And because when it's in reverse, it means that fear or our primal nature is in the driver's seat, not our higher knowing. So here with the lady in white and Leo being the lion, we really do have a representation of that Piscean energy, that higher knowing, that spiritual perspective that really is there to lead the persona, to lead the ego, not the other way around. So this is really a calling to not let what we think is available get in the way, because it is very possible that what we're telling ourselves is quote unquote realistic is really just playing small. That you're being called to something that maybe even could surpass your dreams, that could surpass your imagination. It really is energy that is potentially that big. And so I want to ask a follow-up question. I don't usually do this in these videos, but I want to ask a follow-up question that if folks were to not get burnt up by the pressure with Mars, but to instead decide to use that Mars Leo energy in a more courageous way by tapping into the Piscean support that is available, what might happen? I'm sure you're all wanting to know, like, is it going to be a good investment of my energy and my time, right? What might happen if we use this Piscean support? Well, the Fool card is all about new beginnings and jumping into the unknown. So a new beginning. This is the first card in the deck. It's everything's changed, everything's new. And what's really great about the Fool card is its enthusiasm. It hasn't experienced any setbacks. So he may be jumping into the unknown, but he's really excited about it. So there is this like piece here that's coming to my mind is like, if you've gone into depression or despair over because of so many disappointments, that it might just be worth just shaking it up a bit in order for something new to happen. And the next one comes up is like we jump into the unknown, and then we're going to be asked to just wait. And in that waiting, that might be where it actually feels like something is missing or something is wrong. It's like, well, I took all this action, you know, something's supposed to be happening. Why isn't it not happening yet? Again, that is ego, that's persona and thought racing forward in what it thinks should happen. But there is something, the next two cards tell us why this is actually a good thing. So the Four of Cups is about reanalysis. And it's not a no, it's just a not now. It's a pause before we move ahead, which is the Five of Cups. And the reason why we're pausing is because Five of Cups comes up when there's a call to move ahead, but you got to let go of what it is that you feel that you've lost. And that is represented by the three cups that are in the foreground right behind him. I don't know if you can see it. Right behind the individual, there's two cups that are full. He's actually quite blessed, but he's so focused on the three cups that have fallen, that are empty, that he's not even really thinking about the fact that there's like a whole castle and a bridge and this beautiful paradise behind him that's just waiting to welcome him in. And when he's ready, he will get up and turn around, see that he's got plenty of cups for the journey. And then just up ahead, it is refuge, where he can rest, where he can find community, which is our next card, and where he might even find a new home. Also, the reason why we're pausing is because we're getting really super clear, because we need to take that time to align ourselves, because we're being asked, who is it that you want to support? Who is it that you want to be surrounded by? Who is your support? This came up upside down. So for a lot of folks, you're already reanalyzing your relationships. And so those are going through a revamp, and that might take some time to allow those to either finally resolve or end, or to allow the renegotiation of what that new version of the relationship looks like in order to align and create new relationships for the future. So there is huge shift and huge changes that are in the process. And the bigger the changes are, typically the longer they take and the bigger they feel. So If things are feeling intense, like I said, you're not alone. And I am here and I am available for those who are needing some clarity, who are needing to take a look at the energy, the fractals that are surrounding all the decisions that many of us are currently facing, and get some additional clarity. When I do my sessions, I don't just use my own intuition. I use it as the cards as a dialogue to help you tap into your own inner knowing as well. It's one of the reasons why the way that I work is often very different from what folks might experience with other spiritual coaches or tarot readers. I also am launching a new program that is here to support people who are highly sensitive and empathic, highly intuitive, to be able to turn their sensitivities into strength. What I have found is no matter if you have been born highly sensitive or you were created by life circumstances to be highly sensitive, highly intuitive, or empathic, that it's actually quite traumatizing to be living in a world that is so insensitive when you yourself are quite sensitive. This can take a huge toll on how confident we feel. It can create burnout. And it can create a feeling of alienation and loneliness even when we're around many other people. So I found that there are a variety of different things and techniques that have worked with hundreds of people that I've worked with. And now I am in a beta stage of a new program that I'm creating, an app that I'm building, where I'm going to be looking for 22 individuals to be part of that first rendition. And those folks are also going to be able to give me feedback and have a place, a part to play in this very powerful offering that will be there to help spiritual seekers, star seeds, highly intuitive, highly sensitive and empathic people who are really, in my opinion, are here as change agents. Whether or not they know it is another thing, but I firmly believe that all of us here are change agents and we don't even actually have to do much. Our very existence changes things. So with further ado, if you're interested in being a founding member, that is going to be launching in a couple of weeks. No, next week it's going to be launching. And send me an email or shoot me a text at the information below if you are interested in taking a look at what it would take to be a part of that. All right, folks. Love you all, and I'll see you here very soon. I've got a couple of other videos that I'm going to be launching here in the next week. Take care. Bye-bye.